Hi everyone, welcome back to the what is my July update for No Name Junction, and it's my first proper real-time update. Everything else that I've been putting out of recently on my new No Name Junction channel is all retrospective. It was like I don't know, recordings of my stages through the development of this little layout. It was actually not intended to go out on YouTube, but friends have talked me into it, so I put the channel together. I put a couple of videos out, but I wanted to do a proper update, which this hopefully will be. Anyway, without further ado, I got fed up with looking at the two lumps of white foam blocks in the corners, so I carved them up last week and made them into hills and put some plaster bandage over them and used wooden scenics and pico grasses to cover them along with the back scenes. They are meant to represent the downs at the back of the Romney Marsh, and hopefully soon there will be sheep roaming across the tops of them. And on the other one, the far over there, I have carved a little creek or stream running through the center of it. It does come down the rock face, which I'm still developing, and I'll put a culvert there under the train lines, and it'll run into a little ditch, which I'll see more of in a minute. But further to that, I want to develop the little village. Now the church in front was actually part of a deal I made when I first got into the trains, and that was nicely made, so I've retained that. And I also came into a whole load of Scoudale, all boxed, all nice, nothing wrong with any of it, and I've used some pieces here just to form a little village setup behind the station. But on top of that, my father bought me a very nice birthday present of recently and got me a collection of period Oxford die cast models from the 20s, 30s and into the late 30s to go on it, so that's really good. I've only painted the road in and the grassy areas. I will actually develop those spaces in time, but for the moment it's not too shabby. I quite like it, and we'll see how it goes. The one little bit that maybe doesn't fit, but I liked it, was that old rusting Fowler traction engine of the period. May not be at this location, but I liked it, so I just wanted to include that, and that's what this is about, just having fun. I also, because I'm an artist, I have access obviously to all my paints, and in that regard I have many different products. One of the sets of stuff that I have is a whole load of different mediums for acrylic, and so I developed this village lake in acrylic. It works to a point, I think, but the more water features I will trial in proper resin. But I just like the way that this whole village scene tends to work, and panning into a tighter shot. It's almost like a village life, and I love that. I just think it's fantastic. I mean, I'm new to this, and I'm sure there are many things that I can do better, but for the moment I'm enjoying it, because what you have to remember about this layout is that it's sitting in an 18-foot square garage that eventually will be my painting studio. And this table was only ever going to be a trial, really, not so much a trial, but a practice table. It was having listened to all those guys out there, you know, the Everard Junctions, Graham Fulson from Lakeside, loads of different people, and I just feel that I've learned so much from you guys, and it's so much appreciated that you take your time to put videos out to instruct newcomers like me in the hobby to do better with what we're doing and not make a load of mistakes. And at the end of the day, this is not a cheap hobby anyway today. So expensive mistakes are easily made, and I didn't want to do that. So I'm really grateful to you guys for putting all that information out there. With that said, yeah, I sort of have made heaps of mistakes, only realizing that like pinning my trackers caused me more trouble than anything else, and I don't want to do that next time when I come to do my layout in the garage, which will be around the outer edges, so it's going to be 18 feet in all directions. I don't want to make the mistakes that I've made in this. So this is going to be a trial. At some point it'll either get wrecked or sold on with one or two things like my ADM turntable removed, of course. But essentially the core of the track and the ballasting and the Scenics will move on with this if somebody wants to buy it. If not, I'll take up what I can, save what I can, and move on from there. There's an area that I do want to show you, is my yard. It's one that I've been doing a lot of modelling on this past week or so. For the keen-eyed among you, you will see that there are far too many engines over there for numbers of track. It's purely because I like the look of that, and some of those engines are not DCC yet, so they're waiting for chips to go in and for some weathering to be done, and when that's done I will continue and they will go on to track where they're not going to cause a problem. What I also wanted to show you is some of my weathering projects. This is a couple of them this end. This is my, if it will focus, I burned out this old brake van. I quite like the effect that it's had, and I think it looks quite good. Some of you, I hope, will agree. But I was going to sell it on eBay. I decided I wanted to keep it. I've been selling a few of my models that I've been weathering on eBay. This is one that will go on sale soon. This is an older 9F with an older Ringfield motor, and we did chip it, and it is working with a chip at the moment, but it's quite jerky, so I think we'll probably either send it back to being DCC ready or put it back to analog DC and move it on. It's a nice looking engine. I'm really thrilled at the way the weathering job turned out, and lots of people have given me those who know more than I do have given me the thumbs up as to its look, but I'm not too unhappy with it. Worked very hard. Again, as a painter, I'm not unused to using an airbrush in the past, so I have a good collection of airbrushes, and they're finally finding good use again. So I hope you'll agree that that's not so bad. I've also been weathering things like the oil tankers. This is one I've just done. I sold one recently on eBay, along with a few other bits and pieces. So that's a bit of fun too. I just love playing around with this stuff. I've also been putting things like weeds and stuff down the edges of the track in the thing. The other thing is also that I've been doing more weathering to the track. My track was too shiny, and I've airbrushed the track and cleaned it and done the oil down through the center. I expect you can see that. I was quite enjoying it. It's a bit of a long process, but what it made me do is it made me want to carry on ballasting. So where that weathering of the track ends, so too in the last week I have put more ballast down. So that's now dry, and over the next week or so I shall be airbrushing that in. Okay, but back to the weathering here. You can see weeds and grass as it goes round that have been added. There's part of the ditch that will have some resin put in very shortly. I have it here. It's just arrived, so I can get working with that. Some of the Scenics and the Woodland Scenics products on the hedging and on the scrub, I've actually tried to replicate gorse bushes, which are quite common down here on the bluffs and on the hills around the Romney Marsh. So gorse bushes are in a nice yellow flower. So I thought it was quite an interesting concept of the fresh yellow and the dark dirtiness. Little bit of debris that I've weathered into this, and I've tried to, I don't know if I can see this, introduce some there, and actually a couple of puddles that are in the concrete or the dirt or the earth. Some of my other wagons, and you'll see a couple of weathered ones over there too. They were some of my initial weathering, and I've been quite pleased with those, but it gave me enough interest or confidence to go on and weather the 9F, and from that I can now start weathering other locos, including my own stock, which I'm looking forward to. That's an L-cut engine shed. It's a long one. It's been purposely built, and I've put it together. Still got some stuff to do to it. The cowlings, of course, on the roof are still being made by me, but I wanted to weather it up and so it can sit in its own environment and look good, I hope, and get ready for others. I do have two other sheds. One was going to go directly here and one on the other side, but I've decided to keep those back until such times as my new layout comes into existence. So I'm just working with this one large engine shed. It's 400mm long and should take a good engine or two on each track. Here is my latest little adventure into both weathering and scenics. I've seen lots of places where you've got lovely concreted area across the tracks, but I've also seen in many books that I'm now collecting that some of these areas were really filthy, muddy, grimy, rusty areas that you wouldn't really want to walk through without big Wellington boots. And so I wanted to do that, and I used some of this sculptor mold to do it. It's a funny old substance, but it worked quite nicely. I then coloured it in, and I also created this bit of a scrapyard affair. I didn't have too much debris to put into it. Hopefully that will sort itself out on the focus. There we go. Alright, if it doesn't pop, I'll try not to move because that's very close in, and let me come back out of it. Sorry about that. There you go. I didn't have to. I had a couple of old carriages with some old wheels in, which I cut up and put into it, but I weathered it up, painted the rust in. I just thought it was a nice scrap area, and that works very well with the area the locos are sitting in. I'll eventually put these locos on tracks, all of them where they should be, so it looks a little bit more correct, but it's just a bit of fun at the moment. Also, I have been weathering in wagons. I've done 9 of these plank wagons with real coal in, and they're looking okay. They're coming around to the back of this. Sorry, there we go. Focus. There we are. So there are 9 of those coal wagons that have been done. And then I've done 3 more of these with tarpaulins on, which I've enjoyed all of that. So you get to see there are 9 coal wagons at the moment, going through the tunnel up to that C24. And then I've got, you'll notice the interloper on my scene at the moment, the Krusty. I bought it in a box, meant to have been a 9F, but it turned out when it came to be a Krusty. I didn't mind that in a sense, because actually the 9F was a 2009 model and this was a 2014 model, so I was quite happy at that. So it's been chipped, it's on my layout, it's running around nicely, and it will be weathered very soon. And I've also weathered up its set of wagons on here, which are carrying extra ballast around the track for track maintenance, I suppose. I don't know. Just a bit of fun. It's just a different loading to the coal. Just thought it made the nice look of the wagons. They're quite pale in their dirtiness, unlike the coal ones, which are quite black. But I'm talking a lot. I do apologise. I want to end this up and I don't want to bore everybody. There's not a lot more to say. Certain things that I haven't put in here are point motors. I wish I'd had in a way, because I could actually have more fun. I can at the moment my trains go around the 3 loops here, and I can, by moving the points manually on here and on the opposite end, bring into play these 2 tracks here. Other than that, I can't do it other than manual. And all the other areas where points exist and crossovers and all these other things are not operational. I think I've gone too far for that now. If anyone thinks and begs differently, please let me know. But I feel that I've got lovely cobalt motors, and I don't really want to spoil them in here, and want to save them for when I do the proper layout, if there is such a word as a proper layout. They're all proper layouts, but my layout number 2. And we'll see. Anyway, time is moving on fast, and I think that I ought to let everybody get on and do what they're meant to be doing, instead of watching me talking about what I'm doing. So with that in mind, I shall bid you all farewell. If you have enjoyed my little tour around my table, I shall end it with a couple of minutes of running. And but if you have enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel, No Name Junction. If you've got a name for it, hey, let me know, because I don't think it should remain No Name Junction too much longer, but I haven't got any ideas on what to call it. So if that doesn't happen, then it will remain as No Name Junction. And I will come back with another update as soon as I've got something to say. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all very, very soon again, and have a look at what I'm doing. Bye for now.